Guys, Ollie is bullying me in the chat because I said that we should produce a clone army of Yariel Poofs, and they didn't like my message.
Start your sublight engines. It's time for RuPaul's Pod Race, a queer Star Wars podcast. Welcome back to another week of Obi-Wan Kenobi chaos. Today we'll be discussing Obi-Wan Kenobi episode or chapter 4, so spoilers ahead. My name is Claudia. My pronouns are she, her. You can find me on social media at Kaludia Says, Kaludia Says. My Obi-Wan themed gender of the week is Star Wars' love for baby handcuffs. Baby handcuffs for Grogu. Baby handcuffs for Leia. What's up with that? Baby handcuffs and baby torture? That's a lot.
To be fair, I think she was in an adult-sized torture chair.
Yeah. A lot to unpack there as well.
It's a lot. Yeah.
So they have baby-sized handcuffs, but only an adult-sized torture chair? What's up with that?
Their torture for Tots. Yeah, no. It's their torture for Tots program hasn't really been greenlit yet, so they have to get it up and running before they have all the extra
Not
stuff.
Torture for Tots. I'm Jess. My pronouns are they, them. You can find me on social media at Kawaii Jessio. That's Kawaii Jessio. And my gender this week is Sheev Palpatine's secret little Funko Pop collection in the Fortress Inquisitorius.
The Funko Pop collection.
I'm happy to hear that because I've been waiting to get my hands on a Terra Sinube Funko Pop, and I'm kind of jealous, honestly, that Palpatine has one and I don't.
So I'm Noah. My pronouns are he, him. You can find me on social media at The Jewish Jedi. And my gender this week is Obi-Wan Kenobi's is softly pickled, brine-infused body. I could not get away from that thought while he was sitting in that little bacta tank. Yeah.
I think of pickles and I think of Valence.
That Valence?
Yeah.
Valence, my
Baylor?
king.
Baylor, my bestie Baylor.
It's pronounced Valence because it rhymes with balance.
Does anyone want to explain that for the listeners?
No, because I don't understand it.
Yeah, if you know, you know.
It's very much giving Mari Santeka.
That's only for the Valence Nation people. They know.
Hi, I'm Mel. I use they, them pronouns. You can find me on social media at Melvin Culpa and on TikTok at Grunkle Rex. Sorry that I wasn't here last week. I was getting questioned by the Inquisitors with Noah. I didn't say shit. I'm not a snitch. Just like Leia. And with that, may I just say my gender this week is Leia's white woman tears.
Reva was like, that will not work on me, bitch.
He said, please, that's enough. You are going to the chair.
No, when she said, let's make those tears real, I was like, that was really fucking funny, actually.
I know. I was like, Reva's such a great, antagonist. She's just like, I'm coming for your ass. I don't care if you're a child, I will still beat the shit out of you.
Moses needs an Emmy just for being able to keep a straight face for that whole dialogue scene of having this conversation with a 10-year-old.
I'm Ollie. I use any pronouns. You can find me on social media at OllieFresh. It's fresh with a PH. And my gender this week is homophobic dog Reva. And this is because when she was talking to Tala was like, yeah, ha ha ha. And she was like, I know what you are. And I was like, oh, for pride?
Okay.
I know what you are.
No, because I can so see Reva saying, your month is coming, isn't it?
No, she would literally say, your month is coming, Obi-Wan.
For those who may not know who are listening to the podcast, can someone explain the homophobic dog?
Okay, so there's a dog named Whitney Houston who is owned by 2 gay people. But there was a series of funny images released of her with funny little captions that are bit fruity, isn't it? And your month is coming, and everyone was just like, this dog is homophobic and or looks like Anya Taylor-Joy.
Not that those are mutually exclusive.
Exactly.
No, get Reva away from the homophobic dog.
No, okay, because
is embodying the homophobic dog.
Reva shows up to where any other Reva shows up to any other Jedi event, we're sending them, and she's like, pack it up, Skittles squad. And that's how she brings them in.
That's how she starts every Inquisitorius meeting. She's like, okay, pack it up, Skittles
squad.
True.
No, that's how she closes out the Zoom call that they have. She's like, all right, pack it up, Skittles squad, let's go.
She's like, fifth brother, you don't know how to count? Pack it up, Skittles squad.
This was a shorter episode, but there were still a lot of things that happened. How are we feeling about it?
I hated it. I think that women shouldn't write Star Wars. That was a joke. I actually really, really liked this episode, like a lot. I think we've gotten past the point where it was like almost like a lot of setup. I think last week's episode and this week's episode were both like we're getting into the action, which I think is good for if you have like a like 3 episode structure. And in a way, I think of when it's 6 episodes, it's basically like 1 and 2 are one, 3 and 4 are one, and then 5 and 6 are one episode. So I think if you take that into account, I think that the pacing makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I will say I'm a big fan of like a heist movie feel, and this I love a sneak into a secret base kind of thing. I enjoyed that. I also will say that a lot of the characterization that was starting to happen in the first couple episodes, I feel like came to some good fruition here. Like one thing I liked especially is how Leia like seems so much more trusting of Obi-Wan in this episode. I liked that a lot. Also, and this is from near the end of the episode, but when she grabs his hand and the music swelled up, I was like, I'm gonna actually get emotional for a second. I'm not gonna lie.
In the middle of the episode when she was being interrogated, and Reva was keeping a straight face, she had some moments when she genuinely showed fear, whatever, and I was like, first of all, this child actor is amazing. And second of all, I'm visiting with my nieces and nephews right now, so when she like held Obi-Wan's hand or whatever, and I was like, I have decided to start crying. Oh
Literally.
no. Yeah, a lot of people complain about pacing in general and pacing in TV that is shorter now, whatever. I think it is doing quite a good job. I also very much like we've talked about how like it's had ties to all the different eras, but in this one it felt very Rebels like because in Rebels we see like the early foundations of the rebellion, and here we see something that's clearly like a I don't know, like a proto to one of the cells of the rebellion, and we see like one of the first people to die for Leia that she knows about, which is pretty of many in the future. And we see like kind of this proto rebellion, like when they had like the ships come in to save her, I was like, yeah, the Rebel Alliance. I was like, wait, that's not the Rebel Alliance, but that's the feeling that I am getting. And also when the new character, I forget his name, but he seemed really Yas and very slay, who was kind of running the path thing. And he talked about how he used to be married to a former Jedi who died. I was like, Harrison Dula moment. I hope he meets Harrison Dula, and I hope they're besties. So
I have brain rot because when you were like, oh, the person who runs the path, my instantaneous is like, all right, Marcian Rowe, and then we'll get it.
you're done. You're done.
I will say his name is Roken, played by O'Shea Jackson Jr., and he is my new favorite Star Wars character.
He's so cool.
I love his vibes.
I loved it a lot, honestly, because the fact that when Obi-Wan's like, well, we have to go, and he's like, you are not my highest priority, and all like, because when Obi-Wan was like, you don't know the cost of the Empire, I was like, I'm pretty sure that he does, and then I love that moment where he's like, I've lost people to this, I've lost people to the Empire specifically because of this. However, that does not mean I'm not going to help you. Like he basically like, despite what he's experienced and despite what he's lived through, is still willing to say, but this is worth it to me. I actually thought it was a very powerful moment because I was like, finally someone, first of all, called out a Jedi on their shit in the middle of this. It was like, your actions have consequences, Queen. But I also like the fact that he was like, and despite the fact that it's really painful for me, I know what I've committed to by being a part of the rebellion. Like, honestly, the way that the characters in the path like acted, I was like, so all of y'all are clearly very ready to like lose your life over this, that was very cool to see. And like this sort of like you were saying, Claudia, like this proto rebellion cell. I would like that was like a really cool thing that those characters were doing.
I think that was also a very Harrison Dula kind of quality, because I think that like she eventually, and she loses Kanan and she becomes a general and whatever. I'm reading the Alphabet Squadron books right now, so this is her post. I have some issues with those books, but like it's very much her post this kind of stuff, and like she has lost a lot, and she has a lot of people who say some things to her that aren't really great, but she still has that not that compassion, but that thing of like, hey, actually, I do know more than you, but I'm not gonna, we're gonna keep it pushing. And it also just shows how out of touch Obi-Wan was. I also thought that in that scene clearly like Obi-Wan, he was like in the tank, and then like they finally got him dressed or whatever, and like in order to show, like, obviously we had the things of like, oh, he's starting to finally use the Force and he's getting a little more badass whatever in this episode, but there was also the visual part of like in that episode, in that scene he starts dressing like a Jedi again, and I was like, oh, that's the Obi-Wan I remember from the Clone Wars. Wait, hold on. And I was like, I love visual storytelling. But I was also like, how many Jedi have passed through here that they have, like, hand-me-down Jedi robes? I've made myself sad.
Well, we know they're not Quinlan Vosses because they had sleeves.
I know, no, okay. So Ollie and I watched the episode together, and the relief, because the fucking cycles of, the fucking stages of grief I went through, because they opened to that, like, you know, the fucking 50s fucking Tupperware party full of gelatin mold of Jedi. And fucking there's a gentleman in the left-hand corner, and I was like, oh no, it's that Quinlan Voss. And then Ollie was like, no, he has sleeves on. It just can't be him. And I was like, okay, it's so true. Okay, we're good.
So happy he made it.
No, literally. I was very nervous at who we might see, but we saw Terrace Anube. So what?
That was a callback. I was not.
Yeah.
Of all of the bitches they could have put, Terrace Anube was really not the one I was expecting.
Who else would they have put? Like
Mace Windu?
Okay,
Yara
that's
Poof?
fair.
Yara Poof died way before.
Yeah, Yara
sorry.
Poof gone.
Okay,
What if Plo Koon
no.
had been in there?
If Plo Koon had been there, I would have been violent.
He blew
Okay,
up.
Or
so-
Kit.
You don't know
so-
that?
Oh yeah, no, Kit Fisto. No, we saw him die.
Kit
Okay.
Fisto. I have one more thing before we move on. I think Kit Fisto survived because I saw a YouTube video about it 7 years ago.
And I agree. No, I'm just saying.
With the Ray Palpatine theory.
Shut up!
I saw a
Don't do
YouTube
this to
video about
me.
it in 2016, and then it became true.
No, I'm just saying. I think Jarl is actually in there, and I think he's just been there for like Palpatine's had him on ice for like literally so long.
Like
They're
Mari Santeca.
He's trying to figure out how Yariel was such a throat goat.
No, literally, he's like Nancy
like
Reagan.
Nancy Reagan.
Yeah, is Jarl
Don't.
the Nancy Reagan
No.
of Star
Don't
Wars?
disrespect
No,
Yariel
no.
Poof like that.
Not
Okay,
during
okay.
Pride Month.
Okay, no.
No,
but
if
hear me
anyone's
out
like
on
fucking Nancy fucking Reagan, it's fucking Oppo Rancisis. Sorry, I really hate Oppo Rancisis.
Yeah.
Fuck
Fuck
you,
Oppo
Zay Tempest Runner.
Rancisis.
Okay, no, but can I just say this? Palpatine has him because he's like, I want a neck that long. And that's why he has that stretcher he had to put Quizzy on to sort of elongate him again. This is a trial run to make Palpatine physically much longer. And that's how he takes over.
That's
the
why
galaxy.
Snoke looks like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys,
He's like the only way to truly have the power of the dark side is to be weirdly long in the head. That's what he's starting to do.
In like a more roundabout way to wrap this conversation up, this was once again more foreshadowing to like Palpatine's bullshit, because it was like, oh yeah, like he is keeping these bitches on ice so he can figure out how to clone Force sensitivity.
So this was what I've been wondering. I'm connecting the dots, whatever. Obviously, we saw Mount Tantus again, which we saw at the end of season 1 of the Bad Batch, and then we saw it in the Bad Batch season. We saw it. I'm sorry. We saw it again.
Episode?
No. I'm sorry. Let me finish my sentence. So we saw it again in the Bad Batch season 2 trailer. So we know we are going there again after we saw it at the end of Bad Batch season 1. But we also know that by the time of The Mandalorian with Grogu, they are doing experiments. They were doing experiments with Omega and something with the Kaminoans, but by the time of Grogu, they're doing midichlorian count experiments. And this makes me think, obviously my first thought was, oh, this is where they keep the remains of them, either because as the dark side, they pull power from their remains and their essence, and that's how, another Rebels reference, they used Luminara's remains to draw people in. But maybe it's something else. Somebody noticed, it was like, oh, it's like they're being held in amber, kind of like Jurassic fucking Park. But like, maybe it's that they started the Force-sensitive cloning experiments using dead Jedi or suspended Jedi, and that didn't work. And then they had to start finding more Force-sensitive children to then do like maybe this shit doesn't work after a while, or they lose all the bitches in the amber, and then they have to start like finding the kids like Grogu. Anyway, I've connected all the dots. Also, Thrawn will somehow be involved, so
Okay, actually, I do have a question regarding this episode. So there, we did see a purge trooper in this episode. Do we think that was a clone, or do we think that's just some guy? Because I'm leaning towards just some guy. However,
So I unfortunately do think it's just some guy. I admit that I have some disease of the mind though, because the literal second he walked on screen, I was like, oh my God, it's Cody. He's here. But like basically, because this is 10 years after the Fall of the Republic, right? Yeah. So I think I think it was probably just some guy. Like because also in Fallen Order, they're not clones, right? The Purge Troopers are not clones. Do we know? They're not? Okay. Because this is after that, so I would guess that they're just dudes that have been trained to kill Jedi.
yeah, and I mean the whole thing that they were dealing with was, sure, Vader has some clones in his like little bestie squad, but like for the most part, they're just getting retired out and like being sent to pasture.
Yeah, and the other thing about that too is this is 5 years before the start of Rebels. So all of the clones, if you look at their ages, they would all be like in their 50s-ish. And we saw the clone in the beginning of this show who was, I know it seems like he had been hardened by life, but he was not like a young man who was doing shit like he used to. And like keep in mind where like Rex and Gregor and Wolf are gonna be in what, like 3 years? Not 3 years. Oh my god. Yeah. How long? Like 4 years?
Are they in season
Between
2
now and
or
Rebels?
season 3?
They're in season 2, but even so, like
So that's gonna be like 6 years.
okay. I trust you. I'm not good at math, so but I think like it would make sense that it's just sadly just some guy.
I do another thing I did like about this episode was like there were just some genuine like Star Warsy moments where I was like, yeah, and I like jumped out of my seat. I was like, I'm genuinely enjoying myself. What is this feeling? We talked about the earlier one with like the ships like swooping in or whatever. But the moment when Obi-Wan, it's like it's not like his full like I'm back bitch moment, but like when all the lights are out and then you just see like his lightsaber, whatever, and he's like, I've come to slay. That moment, I was like, yeah! Like, I was like, yeah, I'm watching a really good Clone Wars episode. Like, I felt very alive, and I was like, maybe I do like Star Wars. It was very slay. And also him, like, holding back the entire pressure of the water. I was like, yes! An icon!
It was giving Belle Zettifar.
I will also say, Tala girl, I love you. She is quickly becoming one of like a character that I love. I think like I can't put my finger on what is so slay about her to me, but I just love watching her work. I watch a reality show about her, honestly.
No, because Callus wishes he was Tala.
So true.
Callus's fulcrum is like, dang, I wish I could do more. And Tala's like, I am.
Zev meets Tala and he's like, why aren't you like that?
Zev meets Tala and he's like, am I straight? No. But you did make me think about it for a second though.
No, I just was thinking of like Callus is like, you know what? I think maybe I will turn on the Empire, and he starts like looking up people who have been like, known Imperial enemies for being like traitors or whatever the fuck, and he comes upon records of Tala, and he's like, I have to study everything about her, and so like she walked so that he could run. I mean, she is more slay, but that's what I mean by that. I feel like he studied
so that
her.
he could lightly walk.
She is a slay elder.
Yeah.
So true.
So true. Okay, so something also that has struck me about Tala as a character is also just like it's so refreshing to have this because Book of Boba Fett, I don't mean to shit on that series, but like when women talked to each other, it was never just like, oh, this is two women talking to each other. It just felt somehow weird and bad. This felt like it was like, oh my god, she's talking to Reva, and like I fully believe, mostly because I feel like Deborah Chow is not going to fridge not one but two women of color. I do feel like by the end of this show, Reva, I think next episode we're gonna get Reva backstory and finally like, what is your issue, ma'am? Besides, the torture. I think she could become a turncoat and work with Tala and her little Skittle squad. I don't know why I'm saying Skittle squad so much this episode. I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about like Tala's little bestie squad. First of all, in the background of one of the shots, Christina Ariel got to walk in the back, and I was like, finally, canon canon Christina Ariel.
For those who don't know, listening, Christina Ariel is the host of the High Republic show, which is the YouTube show that's all about like all the High Republic news and everything.
And she's a friend of the podcast.
Yeah, and she's a friend of the podcast. She is amazing. She's incredible, show-stopping, never been seen before, everything. So, go watch the High Republic show, obviously.
So true. But yeah, anyways, so there's that. And then also I've just been thinking a lot about like Tala's whole entire group of the Path itself and just like how slay they are, and like just thinking about proto-rebellion groups like the Path, like the Cloud Runners, like Saw Gerrera's little bestie squad, and how different that they are from the rebellion, but also how similar they are to the rebellion. And also I just think that they should all work together and honor the legacy of Lorna D by saying maybe we should start killing bitches.
But also like, I mean, we were joking about Lorna D and the High Republic, but also like that is also a very big strength of the High Republic, because the High Republic is about Force users and is about Jedi, but has very strong depictions of how do regular people relate to Jedi, how do they feel about Jedi, and they are important in Jedi's lives. Like I think that's a big thing in Light of the Jedi or whatever. Like, so I love that has, even though we are in a time of darkness, even with Jedi or without Jedi, I do very much like how even now we have this thing of like, we are all the Republic. Oh man, I just made myself upset.
No, absolutely. I completely agree. And then also a thing that I think is really interesting about them, and like the whole entire notion of the Path, just like as a concept here and now, without the context of the High Republic and with the context of the High Republic, the idea of people, and this is once again just me fan, and this is things I am making up but I think could be true, the idea of them using paths to relocate Jedi without the Empire being able to like touch them is so Yasin slay.
That is so slay.
Oh,
fuck you, Marchion Ro. You should choke to
Let's
death.
go. Oh my god, no, because oh my god. Okay, spoilers for Out of the Shadows, but Vernestra has the paths. She has a way to figure it out. The Jedi could still get the paths, and here's how. Anyway, Vernestra Ro founded the paths. She went through the world between worlds to save the Jedi children.
I wish that the
Slay.
path was a real thing and not something that Lord made up for that song.
Stoned at the Nail Salon was written about Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, true.
Just like how Mood Ring was written about Comac Vitus.
Oh my god. I do also think it's funny. So Fallen Order takes place 5 years before this, right? And I know that in Fallen Order, Cal Kestis like goes through and just fucks up the Inquisitorius building. It gets fucked up. But then by the time we see it in this, it's like okay. So I love how like every 5 years the Inquisitorius building, it's like gotta go. It's getting
Closed for renovations.
Okay, something I will say though about that is in Fallen Order, it is not just Cal. Like Cal came in and like he like hurt some things. Darth Vader was like ripping shit off the walls and like hurt. Like he was literally like there's a part where you have to run away from him and Vader's like ripping up walkways and shit and like throwing you around, and it's like, dude, this is your house. Like, what are you doing?
He also throws a lot of stormtroopers off of railings, and you're like, I didn't do that. I had nothing to do with that. Like,
That's
you
your employees.
Technically, that's not his house. His house is on Mustafar. He was just like, this is my silly little friend's house, and they're trying to steal my job.
No, it's fucking Sheev's. It's Sheev's fucking. It's Sheev's fucking timeshare.
Nar.
Yeah.
Nar. Well, I mean, they said like, oh, this isn't a palace or a fortress or whatever or a castle. This is a tomb. So this is Sheev's mausoleum, and he was like, "Fuck it, I don't care about the dead."
It is a fortress. It's literally in the name, Fortress Inquisitorius.
Okay, well, I mean, but I do love how well, here's the other thing about Vader is that he doesn't like anything that could replace him. That's why he doesn't like
that's
the
what I
Death
was
Star.
saying when he's going after Cal. He's like, I don't give a fuck about this place. I don't give a fuck about these guys.
But also, like, if this place has, like, the future of whatever, like, force-sensitive clones or whatever, that's got to be Palpatine's long game. He doesn't give a shit about that. He hates that shit. So he's like, fuck it, I don't care. It's so slay of him.
He's a contractor who leaves mid build and leaves a person with like fucking no insulation in their walls.
Vader, no, no, okay. Because Vader is like a van lifer who got halfway through the project and said, I don't want to do this anymore. So he's ripped out all the parts of the car and is like, well, it just sits in the driveway.
He's sitting in the driver's seat, but there's no seat. He's
No,
driving like
no
that.
steering wheel, no gas. It's like, well,
Is that
we'll
not
get there eventually.
Is that not how he is in the fucking TIE fighter in fucking A New Hope?
So
Absolutely.
true.
Absolutely. I mean, Vader's general vibes, I mean, obviously his general vibe last episode, but his general vibe this episode of your mom coming home and you haven't taken out the chicken that you were supposed to take out of the freezer.
The chicken in question is Terra Sanube.
Terra
Like,
Sanube
throw him in a
is
pot
kind
of
of
boiling water.
Terra Sanube is kind of chicken-esque when you think about it.
I guess, I mean, the only other thing that I guess I wanted to bring up is Vader, because I found him very interesting in this episode. I feel like a lot of the hashtag commentary I've seen on the internet.com.edu.gov is about him like not being evil enough or not being like violent enough, but I'm really uninterested in Vader's rage. What I find interesting though is how tonally different he feels in this episode in comparison to like how we see him later. So, but I like this because I feel like by the time we see him in like the original trilogy, he's a much more like broken human being, like emotionally and stuff. And he's not that here. And I like that a lot, actually.
I think that this is like a master class in framing, talking about how Vader is, because he's theoretically not acting that much different than he did in Rogue One or even in the original trilogy. But what's really cool is because we are in these scenes in the Inquisitorius, Reva is like our, for all intents and purposes, our POV character. So we are seeing how Vader looks from her perspective. So Vader is framed as this like this ultimate big bad who is infallible. And I'm not saying that she necessarily thinks he's infallible, but she knows that his abilities are just much, much stronger. I just think it's really interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, especially the comment you made about framing, because I hadn't really thought about it that way. But like when we see Vader in the original trilogy, the context is really shifted. I think it's similar to seeing him with Trilla at the end of Fallen Order. Like he's this terrifying force of nature at the end of Fallen Order, and he's also very scary here. Like you really feel like shit's hit the fan when he like when he like lifts her up in the fucking air and is actively choking her. I was like, oh shit, he's like a lot. But I think I felt that because Reva acting as our POV character, it really does recenter like the experience of seeing him act crazy and evil, because it's like, oh, that's happening to her and we're watching that like right now.
Yeah. Especially I think too in situations where we see Vader like basically the only thing he's doing is being a force of nature, like he was in Fallen Order, and even like he was here. Like he has his agenda, but he's not having to navigate like some sort of political intrigue situation. He's like, fuck that guy, or like, fuck you. I know exactly what I want to do, and I'm gonna do it. And I think that that is a real. It's also, I think, similar in Rogue One, where he's like, oh, I'm just gonna go do this shit that I need to do, which is why people love the hallway scene. And I think it's a really, really interesting piece of framing that really informs his character. And it makes sense for Anakin, who's like, in every instance we see of him, he's a very strong, competent fighter, especially like during and post Clone, like during the Clone Wars. But when we see him have to interact with more tact, that is not his thing.
And I will say this, I think what I'm liking a lot about this performance of Vader that we're seeing in the show is I'm seeing a lot more of Anakin and Vader than I feel like we normally get to. Like obviously we all know the character is consistent because it is, but I just feel like his personality really does shine through all the shit that Vader does so far in the series. I'm like, oh, that's Anakin underneath there. Like genuinely, it really, really is. And I like how much cohesion that creates between these two figures that are often seen as distinct when they are, as we all know, like they're really unified as they're the same person.
I don't know how much of that is due to Hayden Christensen or how much of that is due to the writing. We also don't know if James Earl Jones is doing the voice, or because people saw this in the credits, they're deep faking his voice. and using it to like sound more like Hayden Christensen. It would be deeply weird if they were deep faking his voice and he is still alive.
Yeah.
I mean, they just said that they use the deep fake technology. I would love to know. But even so, like, shout out to Hayden for that. I mean, that was something I really liked about Rogue One also, was like the little lines and stuff that they put there was like, oh, that's very Anakin of him. Or like, this is very, also it's very like, you're seeing Vader more like Anakin than like the Vader we see towards the end here, where he's like very to business. Like, we see him and he is like mid busting down the hallway to chew somebody out for like and his management skills, they leave something to be desired. But he's like, so he's a little bit more unhinged here, and I like how we can see that progression. I don't know how he wouldn't have sensed or guessed, like, hey, maybe she left a tracker on, like, maybe she left a tracker on her, and like, maybe there was a reason. To be fair, he's not known for his smarts. That being said, when you guys were saying he's not doing stuff for political tact and he's just doing things, Thrawn moment. I love when they're little besties.
I mean, they are, like, canonically. That is something I'm like, he is screaming, crying, throwing up. This Vader going into alliances is gonna be like, man, I've been having a really rough last couple years. And Thrawn's like, yeah, I can tell.
I can tell. I am also very scared because, like, the whole thing is, like, Leia trusts droids and et cetera, and then, like, the last shot of the episode was, like, the droid is evil now, and I was like, no. Also, wait, is the book Leia, Princess of Alderaan, it takes place after this, right? Because she's becoming a junior senator, so that would make sense why, obviously, we don't see Lola anymore, the droid, but she has, like, not a nanny droid, but almost like not a handmaiden droid, but like something in between a handmaiden and a nanny droid in the book. Situation. Yeah.
I'll do Cody watch, Clone Watch. There was none. That's it.
So true. Not yet.
We lost once again.
Welcome to our favorite segment, Name That Ship. Name That Ship is when one of the hosts will find a fan fiction, be it on AO3 or on another site, it's usually AO3. We'll read the title, the tags, and other relevant information, and then the other host will have to guess who the ship is, so who the main two characters are. I have brought one today. Oh, and also keep in mind, this is all in good fun. We love and respect the medium of fan fiction. Some of these are just crazy, and sometimes it's crazy in a good way. I have one that was actually submitted to me. You can submit these to us. There is a form in the episode notes. This was sent to me by Tavre. It's Tavre. So this is rated general audiences for the tags. It is character A/character B. There's a lot of tags, and I'm trying to think because I feel like some of them are going to give away some characters. So but I'll just read them all. I think it's fine. Character A/character B. Boba Fett and character B. Boba Fett and character A. Character A and character B. Character B and Ahsoka Tano. Jango Fett and character A. Boba Fett and Aura Singh. Boba Fett and another character who I actually won't say because it'll give it away.
These are and.
Boba Fett and yes.
And, okay, not slash. Those are the first two were slash.
Only the first one was slash.
Okay.
Boba Fett and clones. The characters include character A. So the first character listed is Boba Fett. Then it's character A, character B. There's there's three characters here who will immediately give it away, so I'm not going to say them, but I don't think it's fine. I don't think it will inhibit you from guessing. Original Clone Trooper characters. Aura Singh. Good parent, character B. Adoption. Chaotic parenting. What is Star Wars if not DILFs persevering? No beta. Clone Wars. Alternate universe, canon divergence. Good parent, Jango Fett. Aura Singh is the worst. Childhood trauma, family bonding, two fathers, dads to lovers. LOL, how do I tag? Found family. Mandoa used poorly. Clones, The clones speak Mandoa. Mandoa language. Mandalorian culture. Established relationship. Boba accidentally saves the universe. Boba Fett needs a hug. Let Boba say fuck. Hurt/comfort. Parental character B. And here is one that I think that you guys are gonna love. Duolingo Mandoa.
I have seen this fic before, so I will refrain from answering.
Is Din Djarin one of the characters?
Din Djarin is not one of the characters.
Is it in the Mandalorian era, or is this in the Clone Wars era?
No, this is Clone Wars.
Okay.
So he's a teenager?
Yes. He's a child, like a young...
So this is someone raising Boba, I'm assuming.
Yes, correct. This is two characters who have basically become Boba's father figures and are now...
Are any of them Force sensitive or Jedi?
One of them is, yes.
Is a Jedi at that time.
Yes.
Obi-Wan?
No.
Anakin?
No.
Mace Windu.
Kit Fisto?
Both of those are a little closer.
Quinlan Voss.
Plo Koon?
Plo Koon is one, yes.
Is Plo Koon... Wait, so Plo Koon is in the main ship, right?
He is in the main ship,
And
yes.
is he character A or character B?
He's character B.
Okay,
So
for
it's
sure.
Plo Koon and a non-Jedi character. Are they a bounty hunter?
Correct. No, but they
Hondo Ohnaka.
brush hips with them. Yes.
What?
It's Hondo Ohnaka / Plo Koon raising Boba Fett.
That's so powerful.
Wolf, Boost, and Sinker are also here, and they're like, that's our little bestie Boba Fett. That's it. That's all I have, but I'm kind of obsessed with this. I think that this is very fun. I think that Hondo Ohnaka needs to be in more things. And I think Plo Koon needs to let his hair down. He needs a goofy guy.
He really is just a single mom who works 2 jobs.
He is.
Absolutely.
Listen, I am on the Plo Kit train. However, I think Hondo could be a good match for him.
I agree. Okay, Wig. So this is my fic. This was sent in by user F Fauna, and that's 2 F's and 2 A's. I love this. I'm gonna preface it by saying that Jess and Mel already know its content, so they are locked out from guessing, but Claudia and Ollie are not. So this is character A, character B, or character A / character B, characters, character A, character B, additional tags. And I want to preface this by saying this is some of my favorite tags of anything I've ever seen in my entire life. We have pre-canon, or is it technically mid-canon? Young character B, one night stands, strangers to lovers, and right back to strangers, to whom character A is not a stranger really, and chiefly himself. Let character A take a fucking nap, character study, Tatooine as a hardened mother to the lost, explicit sexual content, existentialism, pro-union smut.
So
This is my brand. This is my brand.
And finally, character B's handkerchief as an allegory for clinging to identity as life seeks to devour you, by which I mean, hey, Canon can eat my shorts.
This is an Our Flag Means
Is
Death
one of
fan.
them? No, is one of them Cobb Vanth?
Yes, character B is Cobb Vanth. So that tag is Cobb Vanth's handkerchief as an allegory for clinging to identity as life seeks to devour you.
When does
That
this
sounds like something you could have written. I love that
Yeah.
for you.
When does this occur?
Specifically, this occurs in 15 BBY, or just south
Is
of
one-
50 BBY.
So
Is this Obi-Wan?
It is. This is a one night stand between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Cobb Vanth. And I want to tell you, here's my thing about this. This is actually a beautifully written piece of fiction. I have selected specifically the ending. I'm gonna do a close reading because genuinely I was like, damn, bitch, okay. This is the last 3 little things. It was private out there in the wastes, a place for thinking, for planning as he hid. That was what he told himself when he had arrived with a baby in one arm and the shards of his past in the other. Loneliness was meant for men stronger than he. Obi-Wan Kenobi could not afford to be lonely. He was alone. This was simply a fact. No sadness on its shoulders. He fixed its eyes on the small pile of sand and wished vaguely to sink his teeth into time. If somehow he could make it bleed, then he might have been able to rewrite all the letters scrawled by his fingers in the awful. Like,
That is holy shit.
I'm obsessed with that. Who is the author?
Yeah. This is by, scroll all the way back up to chromatics, but the I is a 1.
This person, you have the biggest brain of anyone I've ever met.
It's just wonderful. Also, no, because here's the thing. When I saw this was sent in, I saw the tag pro-union smut. I was like, I have to do it. I have to do it. I have to do it.
Because Obi-Wan, I talked about this the first time. Because Obi-Wan
pro-union
working-
Obi-Wan, yeah.
Is this how they get to know each other in the fic? Because he unionizes his workplace?
I believe so. He doesn't unionize his
my
workplace.
God,
No.
slay!
Because he and Cobb.
When was this written? Because
this most recent April.
Slay!
Yeah, it's very slay in my opinion.
Prophetic
Yeah.
of the
I also
Obi-Wan
just
show.
feel like the tags tell a story, but also the story itself is actually really good.
Thank you so much for joining us this week for RuPaul's Pod Race. Episodes usually drop on Sundays, and while Kenobi is airing, we're back to our weekly episodes. For updates, Star Wars news, and more cursed shit, follow us on social media at RuPaul's Pod Race on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Want to ask us a question? Send us a question to our TikTok Q&A or email us at RuPaul'sPodRace@gmail.com. If you really love the show, please rate and review our show on Apple Podcasts, Podchasers, Spotify, or Overcast. It means a lot, and it really, really helps us. May the Force be with you, and don't give it up.
Waka
Waka
waka. Waka waka.